Hey guys, welcome to another video on CELPIP training. Today we'll discuss reading. I have a challenge for you guys. I'm going to see if you guys can beat me on a reading practice. We'll see who can find answers correctly in the shortest amount of time, and we'll see if you guys do better than me. My hope is I'm going to do better because I'm the teacher, but I'll be way more happy if you guys can beat me in this competition. So we'll get that in the second half of this video. For the first half, let's talk about material. So we're discussing CELPIP reading. There is a free sample test online. Just Google CELPIP practice test. I think there's one or two free samples. Then there are paid materials as well on the Paragon website, and you can pay for them. They're pretty expensive, but that's how you can get access. If you're taking coaching with us, you get materials for free. So with us, if you just pay for materials, it's almost the same amount for coaching. You get a tutor and free material. So that's another benefit. You can always email me. Email's in the description if you want our coaching. But today I'm also going to tell you what you can do if you don't want to pay for any coaching, and if your exam is, let's say, tomorrow or something, and you really want to practice reading. This is the best way you can practice reading. Even if you buy CELPIP tests, they are limited. It's not like IELTS. If you search for IELTS materials, there are so many. There are just thousands of them. CELPIP, there's not even hundreds. So what you should do is go to IELTS materials. I've said this before. Go to IELTS reading materials, and I'm going to show you a resource right here today where you can go and how you can use those IELTS materials to practice your CELPIP comprehension. When you do it this way in the IELTS format, in the IELTS material with the CELPIP format, it is difficult. It is difficult. It takes quite a short amount of time because in IELTS you're given a longer time, but if you do it in the CELPIP format, you try to finish it faster, it's hard. So that's why it's even better. That kind of practice you do in IELTS in the CELPIP format will make your CELPIP reading all the more better. Plus, it'll give you access to tons of material. So what are the two types of questions we face in CELPIP reading? One is multiple choice questions. The other is the I would say find the right paragraph, right? That's part 3. So you see a bunch of sentences. You got to find the matching paragraph with those sentences. So in IELTS, you have exactly those questions plus a lot more. In IELTS, you have true, false. In IELTS, you have fill in the gap questions and so on. So all you got to do is go to IELTS resources and find the two types of questions that CELPIP has, which is multiple choice questions and finding or matching paragraphs. Let me show you how. There are, again, lots of resources for your personal training. What I recommend is this website right here. So it is IELTSexam.net. It used to be that. I think they just changed the name to IELTSexam.org/IELTS. So let's go there. It's the same website. And again, you want to see the link. It's right here on top. Now we're going to go to reading. All right. There are lots of samples. So that's what I like about it. There's just tons of samples. You're supposed to practice the hardest thing. Okay, so go with academic reading. Don't go with general. There's some general here. They're easier, but the harder practice you do, the better your actual test will be. I just got an email from a student who was saying that he did all the sample tests online, and the real thing was way more difficult. By the way, if you're doing IELTS, it's the same thing. They always give you easy samples, but when you go in the real exam, it's so tough. And the reason it's a marketing strategy. If you feel the exam is easy in front of you and online at home, you'll book the exam, but in reality, it's different. And then you rebook and pay them more money. So go with the tough one. Maybe let's open the first one here. Okay, let's see if we have the right types of questions. So the passage has 5 paragraphs, and which paragraph contains the following information? Okay, this is exactly what we have in part 3. So you have a bunch of sentences, and you have to match them with the right paragraph. As you can see, the first question here in IELTS reading, this was luckily the same thing. And well, we have multiple choice questions here as well, and for this reading, that's all we have. Okay. That's it. This is perfect. So this reading has the matching paragraphs and multiple choice. So we'll definitely practice this right now. Let's do it now. Open the reading paper for this section. And some of them have other questions too, like they could have true, false, not given, or matching columns, etc. Don't do those. Just do 2 types of questions. Matching paragraphs like this one and multiple choice questions. All right. With that said, let's get into it. How you do the multiple choice questions, and well, we've kind of discussed the strategies, so I don't want to go too much into strategies. I'll just mention them briefly, okay? With multiple choice questions, all you got to do is look at the keywords in the question. I always say read the question first, then go in the passage, find the place where that answer could be, where you find the keywords in the question, find the matching place in the passage. When you do, maybe it's in B. Actually, in this case, it actually says paragraph B, so it's a little easy in this question. But assuming it's not given, but you have that keyword in B or something similar to the keyword in B, you're going to read it, come back, and match with the multiple choice questions. And with the list of sentences, all you got to do is read all of them. These are 4 here. Usually in CELPIP, you have 9. And with IELTS reading, you will get maybe 4 or 10 or 13. It varies. So all you got to do is read all the sentences first and look at the keywords and go in the passage, read one paragraph at a time. Okay, so you would read paragraph A, read it, understand it, come back and match it with the keywords. Then read B, come back and match it with the keywords. And whatever matches, of course, you put that as the answer. In this case, you got 4 questions and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs. So there's going to be 1 paragraph without an answer, or actually could be more. You know, there could be 1 paragraph having 2 answers. Who knows? The way to do this in CELPIP is first match everything, and then whatever option is left that didn't have a match, just put not given next to it. I think not given is usually the letter E, so just put that next to it. Don't try to find not given. It's simple. Find everything. Whatever you cannot find is not given. All right, so let's attempt, for the sake of this video, we'll attempt the first 4 questions, not the multiple choice, something for another day, another video. For now, let's have a look. Okay, this is where the challenge starts. Let's follow my strategy. Let's see who can do it fast. All right, I'm going to read, and if you want me to shut up so you can do your reading, you can pause the volume, or you can silent me, and let's see who comes up with the answers first. Okay, so I'm going to read the keywords. I'm telling you what I'm doing as I'm doing it. All right, number 1, the duties and responsibilities of people who design our cities. So I'm looking at duties and responsibilities of people, and they're designing our cities. That's important, okay. Influence of cinema, media on people's view of future. So future is a good keyword. It could be really paraphrased, 100 years from now or so on. Influence of culture. This is cinema and media. Okay, so maybe movies and news, how they have influenced people. Types of material that future buildings might be made from. Okay, so future buildings, pretty straightforward. If I see anything about construction or future buildings, I got this. And some information and opinions about people living in cities and living in countryside. Okay, countryside and cities. This is going to be a paragraph where there's going to be a comparison between urban, rural, or city side and the countryside. So you can see what I'm doing here in my brain is I'm looking at the keywords, kind of highlighting those, and I'm also paraphrasing. In my brain, I'm thinking already how the examiner might, or the writer might say it differently. Okay, so once again, I got duties and responsibility of people who design our cities, cinema and media's influence, and types of materials for buildings, and cities and countryside. All right, let's get into it. We're going to go paragraph A. Okay, you can read it with me. You can read it faster or slower than me. I'm going to go with my speed. Researchers gave 1,000, okay, so give a questionnaires, cities of the future, all right. So now I'm going to go back. There's something about cities, and some future is a lot of times mentioned. Okay, doesn't look like number 1 so far. Let's check it out. To answer these questions, the people had to imagine what their cities would look through most like in the year. So people are imagining. Interestingly, a large number of people were anxious about dark, dangerous places with endless traffic jams, green spaces. The people also predicted an increase in level of pollution. So people are predicting very negative criminal behavior, more stealing. A large number of people thought cities might be a lot cleaner and interesting materials. Okay, there was something about materials. And if you go here, cinema. Okay, the types of materials the future buildings might be made from. Okay, so maybe it's that types of material. They were also looking forward to new technologies such as flying cars, and in general, cities of the future would have more convenient way of living. Uncertain size of apartments may reduce population. Okay, so there's some positive views in the first half, some negative views in the second half. There is something about buying materials which I find the most relevant. Might be built from more interesting materials. What did the question say? The types of material that the future building might be made from. Okay, so it is very close to that. I would say 3 is A, and I'll come back to it because it's not clearly mentioned what are the types of materials. It just says it's interesting material. So it's not very clear, but if anything, that is the answer. Let's keep going. What do the results from a questionnaire tell us? We shouldn't be amazed by the description of a large group of people. Many Hollywood films. Okay, films. This was about film, cinema, and media. All right, this might be a hint. Is there influence of these? Okay, let's see. Show cities of future as frightening places. Online newspapers also responsible for spreading the same belief. Headlines as global population rises, cities become crowded and more frequent. Okay, journalists really discuss how future cities might be a good place to live. So lots of hints here. Journalists are telling you how this might be in the future. Newspapers are telling you, Hollywood films show you how the future might look like. This is definitely number 2, influence of cinema and media on people's view of the future. Okay, now I know we're competing here, but let me tell you something. The way I'm doing this, you might say this guy's crazy, he's going super fast. I'm doing that on purpose because in the exam you don't have time. So I'm looking for keywords. As you can see, I paused here, I paused here, and this is not the same thing like the question, cinema and media. This is not the same thing. It's a paraphrasing. In this case, it was the same thing, materials. So I'm looking at keywords or something close to the keywords. And when I see them, I'm going back, looking at the question, kind of reminding myself what might be matching here, and then coming back and seeing if it actually matches. All right, that's the whole key. That's why we read the questions first, so that we can have those moments where we're like, oh, wait, there's an answer. Oh, there's an answer. Oh, there's an answer. Okay, let's keep going. I'm pretty confident with my answer here. It should be B. Okay, C. The facts are 50% people now live in cities. Okay, cities, and even though cities only occupy 2% of the world's land, by 2050 it's predicted the number of people living there would rise. Okay, city population will rise. Some people are worried that villages, this is very close to cities and villages, which is countryside. I think they're talking about that. Will become empty as everyone leaves the city. Traditional ways will be lost. That might be true except changes like at the part of human development. Rather than being negative, we should be hopeful that we can improve people's lives as they move to cities. This way, through intelligent planning. Okay, so we're talking about cities and villages, and we're talking about moving to cities, and we're talking about how traditional life will be lost. So what did this part say? Let's have a look. Some information and opinions about people living in cities and living in the countryside. Were there opinions about people living in the countryside? Some people are worried that villages in the countryside will become empty. Okay, yeah, so it's pretty close. I would say this is C. It mentions countrysides, people's opinions on both. Cities will become crowded and villages will become empty. So there are opinions here. This should be C. All right. Let's keep going. And D, the architects have played a big role. Okay, architects have played a big role, huh? This looks like people who designed our cities, architects. Not the same thing, but paraphrased, right? But that's why I know this is because when I was reading it, I was paraphrasing all these words in my brain. Let's keep going. In the past, architects who were responsible for planning our cities designed buildings they were interested in, but now it's time for them to listen carefully what people are asking for. Many countries of the world, people are choosing to do smaller families. Okay, smaller and cheaper houses, that's what they prefer. Very stylish, like Japanese houses. Okay, so the duties and responsibilities of people who design our cities. What is this paragraph? It is D. So here's the thing. In this case, I haven't really read it if these are the duties and responsibilities of these people. But this is the only paragraph that's mentioning people who design our cities. So I don't care if it mentions this. It just mentions people who design our cities. So this is the closest thing ever. I don't need to read more. Okay, so that's the answer there, unless paragraph E tells me something else. So, and what might cities of the future be made from? What might they be made from? This might be talking about the materials. Future buildings might be made from exactly the same thing. Let's hope it says that exactly. Engineering companies have produced smaller interesting products like wood material. Okay, recycle or okay. One engineering project using mushroom. So it's talking about everything. These materials, wood, newspapers, old grain cartons, and mushroom. So this is definitely E. Okay, so that's it. All right, let's check if I got it correct. Check answers, and yes, everything is correct. All right, I was a little nervous there, but this was fairly, I think this is medium level of difficulty, something that you would see in part 3, especially if the timing is less and you have all these words. I don't know how you guys did here. I might have made it look easy, but I hope you guys did the same or better, not worse. If you did worse, then you got to practice more and more. Remember the strategies I used. Let's do a little recap. My main strength was reading the questions. Because I read the questions and I was kind of paraphrasing in my head how I was saying, okay, duties, responsibilities of people who design our cities. I was saying, okay, something like people who can design, or architects, or people who are in construction or making the buildings. In my head, I'm doing that. Maybe I did some verbally too. So when something else is mentioned, like architects, I can say that it matches here. So whenever something was matching, I was coming back constantly to the questions, making sure it's that. And if it was, I put an answer. In this one, I put an answer based on what I thought initially, and then I kept my mind open that, I might change it later. So nothing is foolproof until you read the remaining paragraphs as well. Even when I said D, I said, what was D? I said D is number 1. I said that this is about architects, so it has to be that. I didn't really find this because I was reading fast. But I didn't care because I said, later if I find in paragraph E something about this, then I'll change my answer. But when you gotta go quickly, you can also put things that make the most sense now, and you can change it later if you find something better. That's what I did with number 3. Okay, that's it, guys. I hope this helps. As you can see, time is a lot, so we'll do multiple choice maybe in the next video. But this is how you can practice CELPIP reading on your own, find materials on your own, and just get into lots of practice with the right strategy. Thank you, and take care.